Hi everyone, welcome back for another LinkedIn Live. I'm Giulia Mauro, the IBD Hub founder, and I'm here today with Rafael Angarita from Director of Marketing at SERHANT. And today we're going to talk about how to create a powerful digital presence as a real estate professional. And Rafael is here to give us all his input and his knowledge about the topic. And just before we start, I wanted to thank you all for connecting again. And we got so many feedback from the previous episodes, so thank you very much. And if you have any question for Rafael today, please make sure to comment so we will pick some questions up every time that we see one, and then we can make it more interactive. So, hi, Rafael. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, Julia, thank you for having me. I'm excited for the conversation.
Yeah, me too. I would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience, to tell us a little bit what's your path been and how did you
Sure.
get to this point in your career?
Sure. So I'm Rafael, Director of Digital Marketing at SERHANT. I've been in digital marketing and performance marketing now for a decade, and I've grew up in Miami. One day, after really kicking off my career down there, working with different startups and boutique agencies, I had the crazy idea to come to New York City and just really pursue new opportunities. And I came, I really hit the ground when it came to networking. I was able to meet some really, really amazing people, which kind of introduced me to Ryan and Kyle Scott at Serhant. And then, the rest is history. We've been able to really come together and find a lot of synergy in what we're building, not only with Serhant, but also with the Select Serhant brand, and really building out online programs and resources for real estate professionals all around the world to improve their sales skills and really scale their business to achieve limitless livelihood. And that's really the mission for what we're doing at Serhant, not only to build the best and largest brokerage around the world with, working with some of the top real estate developers and luxury real estate resellers in not only New York, but all the really competitive markets around the world, but also build the go-to brand for sales professionals around the world to come and get trained and improve their skills. Overall, it's just a fun time to be in real estate, across the world. There's so much demand. Real estate agents are facing new challenges with the marketplace changing on an everyday basis. And we're there to really be a resource and help throughout the process.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think that in our field it's really new, this use of digital marketing and social media. Um, could you maybe explain a little bit like what is the problem that you're facing as a professional, and how do you go about it to solve it? So, you're working now with Sirhans. What is the problem that you're trying to solve for them? Is it visibility? Is it trying to create a brand that brings leads internationally? What is exactly your mission?
The mission is really to empower and provide the resources and the guidance to our members to go and execute. A lot of real estate agents, they are in the business because they're really good at selling, but they're not necessarily, one, they don't have the time or bandwidth, or really the expertise to go on and create a social content calendar and really define what the brand position is going to be within their market to set themselves apart from the competition. And that's really where we come in, right? Like, we've been able to build a brand through Sirhan and what Ryan has been able to build for the last 12 years. We're packaging all the different frameworks that Ryan and team has been able to implement to build what we know today as Serhant. But it's been a long time coming, right? A lot of learning and like really executing at a high level. And we're teaching people exactly what we've been able to do and how we've done it at Serhant to build now, not only build Ryan's personal brand, which obviously it's one of the biggest in the world, but also what positioned him to be able to launch now his own firm, and leverage that brand awareness to help out the rest of the organization, not only the rest of the real estate agents that are part of the team, but also everyone, I guess, at the corporate level, that are at any non-real estate agent SERHANT employee, from marketing, design, content creators, and executives, to really elevate them through personal brand building. And it all goes back to, really defining your core identity, whether it's as a real estate agent or as a digital marketing executive, and creating consistent content on all the different outlets that you have, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, wherever it is that you're spending your time in and you're building that community. Really being consistent with that and making sure that you're leveraging the different connections and different spheres that you have to amplify your message and really make everyone aware of what you're up to. Any wins that you're able to get, any relationships that you're able to start, like this one, Giulia and I, we're able to kick things off, and now we're having a live conversation on LinkedIn. Now your audience is aware of Rafael, and my audience is also aware of who Giulia is and what you're up to. So being able to supply our members with the tactics and the strategies that we implement ourselves, and again, it's about empowering them to go and execute, right, and really being there across every step of their process to build their bigger personal brand, and with the goal of generating leads. As real estate professionals, and specifically real estate agents and brokers, their number one job is to generate leads, and everything that we do has the intention to generate leads. It's not just creating content and posting videos for the sake of posting videos because we're filmmakers. That is one of our passions, and is one of the things that kind of intersect with what we're trying to build. And we are, I am fortunate to have a team around me that is filled with creative minds and really, really talented people, from Kyle to Adrian to Puma, Ange, and the rest of the team, that are just creating incredible content. But the goal is to generate leads, build brand awareness so that people want to work with us and sell their real estate and buy real estate through us. But overall, that's really what we're trying to empower our members with.
Sure. And what strikes me about it is that, usually the real estate field as an overall is quite, let's say, old fashioned. And usually, building a network means going to networking events or like big parties or openings of different buildings and so on. And now we're shifting also a little bit, thanks to Corona, I feel we're shifting to, because it's now normal to have a Zoom call and pitch to a client online, which before, like, it was a little bit weird, right? So now we're moving more into a digital way of doing things, and I think SERHANT is really like the first one that started getting leads online and being so visible and having videos of quality and so on. And it is important, and I think maybe some people still don't see the benefits of it because they're like, I have my network since years, like, why do I need to be on social media?
For sure. And that's not to really imply that you don't need to continue doing the networking events and really hitting your network and continue nurturing those relationships. But the digital space, whether it's social media or through paid advertising, or really establishing yourself and setting up a nice, complete website that really tells your story, it's just a tool, a lever that you could really push to amplify your message and amplify your reach. Things like, platforms like Clubhouse, for example, that's networking on steroids. Like, you're able to tap into rooms and join conversations and actually meet people, create connections that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to, because they're not in the same city, or they're not at that same networking event or conference that you're attending. So, with the digital tools that we have now in our hands, it's just a way to amplify and really scale our lead generation. And it's really about creating relationships, right? Like, it's not just lead generation and selling, because then you turn people off and you're not really able to nurture and really build your database. You want to be able to leverage digital to tell your story, create connections, and start conversations that ultimately lead to new business, whether it's on the buy side or the sell side. And that's what we teach through our programs, not only internally to our agents, which is at the core of the DNA of what SERHANT is about, but also what we're teaching through the SERHANT programs.
Yeah, that's true. And another question for you is, what are the steps to take in order to create a powerful brand online? Because very often, well, what I see is that a lot of people, if they're real estate in the real estate field, they're gonna focus really on the details of the building and like the little pictures and so on, but it doesn't really tell a story. It doesn't really excite people to follow that specific real estate agent or developer, right?
You mentioned the keyword story. Like, that's a very important component of what you're gonna go and put out into the world. A lot of agents, because they're just like so caged in on like generate leads, we need to sell, they forget about that human factor. Like, people need to listen to stories. You need to tell them stories about the building, and that's something that Ryan tells us all the time. Facts tell, but stories sell. So you need to really focus and work out that storytelling muscle to improve and just make it part of your nature. Like, it has to be part of how you approach the business, how you approach relationships, and how you create content for social media and anything that you're putting out into the world. It needs to have a component of storytelling, whether it's just really putting your audience or that viewer in that property. You could give people the facts about a property, square footage, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, etc., but in a way that puts them in that property through video. And it's something that SERHANT it's really leading the way and setting the standard as to how to create video content that is not only engaging, but it sells the property or the building or their lifestyle, right? Like, it puts our audience in that situation, in that neighborhood, in that property, in that building. And it's critical. It's critical to be able to scale and again, create that followership that then turns into clients.
Yeah, and I had a second question about storytelling, but I'm gonna ask it in a different way, because I think a lot of people find it difficult to tell a story, right? So, maybe could you give us an example of like a crazy story that you had to put together for a sale of an apartment or of a building?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I'm trying to think. Something that just was created recently, and I had very little to do with it. It was all on SERHANT new development and studios team. But I know a little bit of the background where they came up with it. Like, basically, they had a new development project in the financial district in Manhattan, and they were looking for how to brand this building. They decided on Giulia, which is the pretty one in French, and they created that connection and that cultural connection, I guess, with the name. And they basically created a short film that didn't have any dialogue. It was all black and white with the dog. I don't know if you were able to catch that video. They introduced
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
It was like love story between Ryan and Ollie, the SERHANT dog, and just kind of strolling around the neighborhood. And it kind of got you excited about, hey, I kind of want to do that I want to wake up with my puppy and take a stroll down the neighborhood around the park, come back, have a croissant and some coffee downstairs from my building, and go back home and watch the sunset. So that type of that's the structure, right? Like that's what we're trying to hit. We're trying to hit on some emotions with the storytelling that we do, and that's what we need to be doing as real estate agents or real estate professionals as we build the brand. And it's something that I try to do on my personal accounts for anyone that's following me. I'm fortunate to live in a city that's very easy to photograph, and I try to share as much of my lifestyle as possible. And it's one of my hobbies. Photography is one of my hobbies. And, I let the world know that I enjoy photography and I live in one of the coolest places to photograph, New York City. So I share a lot of my photography with my followers, and often try to share some fun facts, something about New York City that it could be inspiring and it's really connected. It meshes well with the photo that I'm sharing. Whether it's about the history of downtown Manhattan and until when it was that it started developing north of Chambers or whatever it might be, I try to share some cool information that could again entertain, educate, or inspire my audience. And that's kind of going back to the first question of what are the 3 steps. I think was the question. What are the 3 steps to build a personal brand, a successful personal brand? And you need to be able to, right back to what I said earlier, define your core identity. Then once you know what that is, whether you're a real estate agent or you're a founder of a company that sells cupcakes, whatever it might be, you're doing that part of like what pays the bills. Everyone's going to know that you're a real estate agent, but you're also something else.
Exactly.
So are you a parent? Are you a friend? Do you like sports? Do you like fitness? Whatever it might be. Are you a chef? So meshing your profession, what pays the bills, with what your hobbies, and like really bringing you down and humanizing you, because you're still a person, right? Like you still have hobbies and interests, and showcasing that core identity through consistent content, whether it's on video, social, photographs, whatever it might be, anything to create connections on social media, and then amplifying that and shouting all your wins from the mountaintop through different connections and spheres that you may have. And that is just the wheel that you continue to repeat. And as you grow, as you scale your brand, that core identity might need to be adjusted a little bit and then reshared through that consistent content, and then just continues the wheel. So that's the SERHANT brand strategy system, and that's something that really is applied, is really in our DNA at SERHANT. And it's what we teach all of our members through our programs.
But also, what is very interesting that you mentioned is the fact that, well, there is almost a division between the company's branding, which is its own, and then the personal branding, right?
Sure.
And the personal branding is applicable to anybody, whether you're the founder or employed or whatever. And I think that, even if you are working in a company, personal branding is important to invest in, because whether you change career or you change company, you will always have this personal branding there out to see, to showcase your values and what you truly believe in and what inspire you. And then, you can always adjust, like you said, to the company that pays the bills, or that, that's
that pays the bills, or whatever project you're working on. And
exactly.
for a real estate agent, you have a price point. You're selling homes that are averaging $300,000. But then in 6 months or in a year from now you're the $500,000 agent. And in a years from now, you're $1 million. And those 3 price points it's a different brand. It's a different clientele. It's a different target audience that you're trying to hit. So that's part of the evolution as well, that, like you're saying, it applies in different scenarios, whether it's for a real estate agent or just an executive working at any company. That personal brand building framework just works, and really lies on the fact of you need to be consistent and you need to execute.
Yeah, and it's also like you can have the strongest company brand in the world, but if you don't empower your team to have their own identity, at the end of the day, people buy because of people, not because of the company, right?
For
So the
sure.
more you can empower your team to go out there and also showcase their values and what makes them passionate about their work, the more you are more powerful as a company, because you attract people from all different kind of channels and mindsets to work for one big entity, right? So it's really powerful what you say. I really think it's important. How can someone or a company be visible online and get leads organically or paid ads? Like, I don't know if you prefer like generating leads organically or paid ads, but yeah, what are the steps
So,
you
I
would
mean,
suggest?
generating leads organically or through paid ads, I mean, each one has their own challenges. If you're starting off, it's unrealistic to expect to generate leads organically without some investments in ads, whether it's through social ads on Facebook or Instagram or any other platforms, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Reddit. Any of these platforms have an advertising capability to amplify and generate inbound traffic for you to capture leads or whatever objective you have for that campaign. You need to build up some brand awareness and some demand for your services to be able to generate leads organically. And like, that's the goal. That should be the ultimate goal for any business. Like, you shouldn't have a business plan that is solely relying on paid acquisition. That's going to be an important component of your entire strategy. But as you build out that brand awareness, that word of mouth, and you're creating happy customers, eventually people are just going to start coming to you because they are aware of your services, they're aware of what you're up to, and they'll start DMing you or just coming into your inbox or visiting your web, finding you online through your website and submitting that lead, contact us form, whatever it might be. You need to have, but as a baseline, you need to have a way to capture leads, whether it's leveraging, lead ads through Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Even Google has a lead generation capability through their ads, which removes the need of having a website. Or you could, make that investment on your website and setting up the right infrastructure to capture leads and have the lead magnets, the content that's going to attract the right customer or the right prospect to your website. But again, at the end of the day, organically, I mean, in a perfect world, we just generate leads organically because we exist, but we need to make some investments on brand building to start attracting those right candidates.
Yeah, also because, I mean, for instance, from my experience, I'm very active on LinkedIn, right? And as soon as the algorithm changed, the leads that I get organically normally have now lowered because the algorithm has changed, right? So for me, that's why I followed your course. It's important now to see how to test out what paid advertisement can do as well, so that you have both working in parallel and you don't just rely on one, right?
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
like, sometimes I feel like there's a misconception of generating leads organically, meaning that leads are just going to come. But the fact is that you still have to make investments of your time, like whether it's creating the content, being active, engaging with your followership, or building that community. There's still an investment, whether it's monetary or with time, that you need to make. So it's really about, the opportunity cost. How is your time best spent? Whether it's, engaging and creating content and so forth. And if there's a good amount of inbound leads that are coming from those efforts, by all means, double down. Try to find a way to duplicate yourself through leveraging VAs or automation tools. Or you could, set up an ads account and really push out messages. And to your point, really drill down on testing what is the content that's going to generate the most engagement and therefore the most business for whatever you're pushing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was gonna ask also, how has your digital presence as SERHANT set you apart from the competition? Because, well, at least from my perspective, it feels like SERHANT was really one of the first one to have a team within the company to do all the digital marketing and the filming and everything. And before, like, companies used to outsource a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you know, it's Ryan's vision. Like, he obviously, we're a real estate brokerage, but at the core, we are very much a media company. Not only creating content for the real estate projects that we have, but again, we're also creating this education vertical within SERHANT through the Satellite SERHANT brand, which also very much needs a lot of content, a lot of media. So, you know, across the organization, we're very much a media company that sells real estate, essentially. So that's definitely one of the factors that really sets us apart from any other brokerage. You think of Compass, Douglas, and Element, and any other. Maybe, you know, they're real estate companies, and like Compass kind of introduced the whole technology aspect to really help their agents and improve the way that they reach customers. But from a storytelling and a building community, there's no one else doing it like SERHANT. And that's kind of falling back on the type of content that we're creating, and everything else. Was that a puppy?
Yeah, I have my dog. Sorry.
Hello. And everything that we're creating through our social followership, which, you know, continues to grow on a daily basis, not only for the SERHANT brokerage brand, but also on our Satellite SERHANT accounts. We continue growing and expanding, and Ryan's YouTube channel and his presence, which then kind of trickles down into everyone that's working with him.
Yeah, but it's really interesting what you say, because since you are, you know, setting yourself apart from the competition through these tools, but then you are kind of teaching those tools to other people as well, right? So some people
you continue raising the bar. Like, if
but I agree. I agree, but like a lot of people would be like, huh, like you're giving away your secret, like just and teaching people. So is that also part of you know, getting people to follow the brand? Because since you're teaching them, then, you know, you become kind of the professor and the teacher and the head of the movement.
We definitely want to be the go-to brand that the real estate professionals, whether it's on the sell side, development, architecture, design, etc. We want to be the go-to brand for people to come and train and improve their sales systems, or their brand building techniques and strategies. We've packaged a bunch of different frameworks and techniques, from the SERHANT sales system to the GPC framework that you learned on the social ads course, to the SERHANT brand strategy system. And that's all information that, I mean, you know, we could teach you, and we could share all the secrets, but really what's going to make those things work for you is the execution, right? Like, and that's only attained through us, from like an accountability partner, or like really making sure that you're implementing and executing everything that we're teaching you through our Satellite SERHANT Pro program, which is a different path that agents or anyone that wants to join. We have race car drivers that are in that program that just wants to learn how to sell themselves for better sponsorships, for example. So people come in and they partner with us on a more one-to-one basis with our brand strategists and the rest of the team at SERHANT Ventures to help, you know, not only get the techniques and the strategies and like the concepts for them to go use for their own business, but also work with us to implement those in their markets and really get ahead of the competition. So yes, I mean, we are fully aware that we're sharing all these different secrets and tactics that we've come up with. They're proprietary information, but we want to be able to provide our members and real estate professionals all around the world. We're actually in 108 countries through the SERHANT brand. We are in 108 countries. We are in all time zones. We have a global brand, and that's part of the beauty of it is that we're not just selling programs, but we're basically, that is an extension of the SERHANT brokerage. When we need to send out a deal to, Rome, Italy, we don't have SERHANT agents that are over there, but we have SERHANT members that are in those markets. So we could tap into them and, hey, we have a client here that wants to buy in Rome. Let's have a referral relationship. We send our clients to our members. We know that they are trained, and we know that they know the SERHANT sales system, and they know how to treat the clients the same way that Ryan does. So we have that confidence, and we're able to send deals to them. So that's part of everything that we're building with SERHANT, and how it kind of trickles back into SERHANT, the brokerage.
Yeah, but I love it because I think that you need to be so confident with yourself and your achievements in order to be freely teaching others how you do it. And not many are able to do that from an ego perspective or insecurities. So it is definitely super powerful in my opinion. So what are 3 things you would advise people not to do online? What are some of the
advise people not to do online? The first thing that jumps to mind, and is something that often, through my conversations with our SERHANT members, when we talk about, you need to set up a website. Every real estate agent, should look at themselves as a business, right? They are a business at the end of the day, and really gaining control of your online presence starts with cementing yourself with a website that tells your story of who you are, what you're up to, and how you could help clients, right? Like what sets you apart, essentially. But often I see agents trying to recreate a Zillow experience, basically create a search engine of real estate listings in their market, which is not what they should really be focusing on, because they're not a technology company. Zillow has the resources and the funds, right, to create the search engine that not only is integrated with the MLS and whatever market they're in, but also delivers a good user experience. And as real estate agents, as salespeople around the world, that shouldn't be the focus. The focus should really be to tell your story, create relationships, and bring in people into your database. And that should be the thing to not do. Don't create a search engine of real estate, because people are going to search the Zillows, the Giulias of the world. But you want to be able to tell your story and create connections through your website.
Yeah. No, you're right. Always, sometimes we focus on the wrong thing, trying to help in the wrong way. And what would be, because I guess for someone that is starting, or that is settling the brand, what would you consider essential to be on the website? I know I'm asking some
sure. No. I'm trying to think. I mean, your website again should have the story of who you are, what your progression is, and what is that. And remember, I was talking about earlier that you're a real estate agent and you're something else.
Yeah.
Define what that something else is, and really tell that story through your website. Your website should also have a way for people to contact you, right? Like that should be actually the objective of your website. Not only to storytell, but have a way to capture leads and have people reach out to you and inquire about your services and expertise. There should be content that is relevant and useful to your audience, in a form where it's either in short blog posts that you're doing on a weekly basis, for example. Maybe your bandwidth only allows a monthly post. That should be something that you really stay disciplined with, and you're making weekly or monthly posts. Not only is it going to help you really get gain visibility through search engines, through really best practice of SEO. And if you're optimizing your content, it'll help find you people and like really show your content to people that are searching relevant terms. But also you could use some of that content as lead magnets to have, a guide for X, Y, and Z that lives on your website. But for people to be able to see it or download it, they need to submit their contact information, their name and email at the very least. So that's something that people should really focus on, and definitely testimonials, right? Like that's something that something that is underutilized in the space of real estate, because often agents just don't know how to approach past clients and asking them, hey, can you leave me a review, or what would you say about your experience? It's something that sometimes has a little bit too much friction. But if you're able to really define a workflow to start collecting testimonials and stories from other people, not just you. So it's not just you talking about you. You want to get other people talking about you and how you help them, and showcasing that on their website. That's another way to really improve that website and have it beefed up in a way.
Yeah, last time we had an episode with Jordan Marsh and Katie from the MacPick team.
Great guys.
And and we were talking about the power of following up, because it's something that many people forget. But one thing that stuck with me in your course was the fact that every time you have a win, so either you sell a building or you sign a contract that is important, it's important to showcase it and repeat that showcasing as much as possible, because sometimes we feel like, okay, am I gonna talk about this win like the whole month? Like, actually you should, right? You should just
it is. And like on that point, people often kind of become their own obstacle, because they like, I don't want to talk about this because I don't want to brag, or it makes me uncomfortable to talk about it. But you shouldn't really be bragging about it. You should just let people know that you're excited about this new win that you just got. And Ryan says it best. He says, self-promotion is self-preservation.
Yeah.
Like you need to continue to push the wins that you get, so that people know that you're winning, and people want to work with winners.
Yeah.
So it's you have to get out and kind of break through that glass ceiling and get comfortable with, again, self-promotion.
Yeah, and what I see from my clients is a lot of them are struggling with the imposter syndrome. I don't know if you have also people coming to you with that. Yeah,
that's another thing. And it's just all in your head. It's all in your head. There's people that find your expertise, your content to be useful or inspiring at the very least, right? Like, again, you want to be able to create content that is going to educate, entertain, or inspire your audience. If you could do all three in one piece, then you figured out the secret sauce. But you want to be able to provide one of these three things, right? Inspiration, education, or entertainment. And the people that are not finding your content entertaining for whatever reason, or educational or inspiring, you lose some followers, you lose some people that are in your community, but that leaves the people that are there to listen to you. And if you hone in and you really understand what the pain points of your audience are, and you address that and you create content to solve those pain points, that imposter syndrome is going to hit, but you need to just continue pushing forward. People are finding you useful, and you'll see that. You could literally ask your audience what they want to hear from you, what they want to get from you, to help you, as a directional tool. But what people want is that authenticity, and they want to see you, right? Like they want to see the behind the scenes Giulia. Like, what are you up to? Not just on the lives, but what is your actual life like? What are the challenges that you're overcoming? Because believe it or not, people do look up to you. And whether you're in New York City, Miami, whatever it is, selling at whatever price point, people look to you, and they appreciate just the truth that you're able to share. So just stick to your truth, Don't try to fake it. Just be your authentic self, and people will appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like you said, like a lot of people spend time trying to convince people rather than
Right.
spending time being their true self and attract people that have the same values, because that's what you want at the end of the day. Attract the right people to work with you and not have to convince people
Right.
that you're the right person. Like, we waste a lot of time doing that, I feel.
Exactly.
And that comes to the way that you communicate things. And one of the things that was super interesting in your course was that you were picking you were explaining things authentically, but you were picking some keywords that will resonate with the type of clients that you were looking for,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
So that's really an art in itself, right?
In a way, yeah. I mean, you need to be strategic with how you're approaching situations, and it's almost like, I could almost compare it to like improv in a real setting. You need to adjust to whatever situation, whatever person is on the other end of the phone or in front of you talking to you. That same applies to, especially in digital marketing, where you could create different segments for people. And I think that the example that you're talking about is when we're defining the ad copy for a prospective buyer for a very specific listing, which we're making some assumptions that the potential buyer for this listing is someone that works in finance or some type of financial role at an organization. So they're very much focused on the data, and they're very data driven. So we need to talk to them about what they want to hear, and really position the information that we have in a way that they're really going to be interested in and want to learn more about it. So really thinking about those different details, and it does make a difference. And it goes back to how well do you know your prospective client? How well do you know that target audience? And that's going to really be, besides the storytelling aspect and that brand building aspect, understanding your target audience is also going to help you set yourself apart from the competition, because it's all going to kind of empower you and put the tools in your disposal to talk to your audience exactly how they need to be talked to. And it's something that everyone should spend a little bit of time on figuring out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big struggle, I think. One of the biggest struggle from my
not just
clients.
for real estate agents, but any business owner, any entrepreneur that's trying to scale their business. A lot of people focus a lot on the product, but we really need to understand who our segments are, who our customer segments are. And again, addressing their pain points and talking to them in a voice that's really going to create that connection. So you can build out that trust factor and then bring them in.
Yeah, and it's important, but sometimes it's difficult. Like, for instance, like architects, for instance, or software developers, they tend to be so much in the product that they only see the product, right? So when they pitch or when they write, it's so technical that the client itself is like, okay, what is this language? What am I listening to? So I, for instance, always make an exercise. And I tell my clients, like, okay, try to explain what you do to a child. And they freeze. They're incapable of putting it in simple words, right?
It's hard to make things simple.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's something, for whatever it is, whether you're selling notebooks or $30 million apartments, whatever it might be, or designing multi-million-dollar buildings, you need to be able to kind of wheel it back a little bit for that consumer that is not an architect, that is not a software developer, that is not sowing the weeds of things, and really, humanize it and put it in the simplest form.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's when you get to a certain level to be able to use some keywords specifically for that market and for that type of client and so on. So yeah, I have one. Well, I have a couple more questions if we have time.
Let's
The
go.
first one was the fact that I saw that you were very active on Clubhouse, and I was wondering if you thought that was a good platform to generate leads, or how did you feel about it?
I mean, from a real estate standpoint, for real estate professionals, um, I've seen a lot of people get success through networking and creating agent relationships for referrals. So that's
Yeah.
something that Clubhouse, I know for a fact, has helped a lot of real estate agents around not only the United States, but around the world, really,
Yeah.
create those relationships with other agents to kind of form their own referral network in a way. But yeah, I mean, I was very active earlier in the year through
Yeah.
Clubhouse. And I was able to make some meaningful relationships with other digital marketers and other real estate professionals around the world. But it got to a point where it's just very time consuming in comparison to
Yeah.
any other platform. You actually need to be listening and engaging and having these conversations. You're basically on the phone, right? Like every time
Yeah.
you're tapped into that, unless you're just passively listening to conversations, which becomes in a way kind of like a live podcast for anyone listening now to our session. It's very much like this, but you don't see people's faces. But if you're actually trying to engage and kind of do some brand building, you need to invest the time. It's very time consuming. So that's the challenge that I have right now. That as you know, like it's just hard to balance Clubhouse
Mhm.
into a professional life, but with the goal of generating connections and possible leads, referral leads. It is a platform that has a lot of potential. Now with the opening to Android phones and like now it becomes available to the masses, I think the quality of the conversations are going to take a hit for sure. When it was by invitation only, it was very how would I say this? Very, very, very polished conversations. It was very
Yeah.
focused in a way. So it kept things, nice and clean and like intimate rooms. But as rooms kind of scale and becomes thousands of people in there, you're not really having that great of a conversation or that meaningful of a conversation.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's worth for anyone to just kind of take a dive into it and try it out and see what you could do with Clubhouse.
Yeah, I agree. And also in terms of digital marketing, for me, it has been great to put down the pain points that my potential client have, because you can speak to them directly, right? And then create content through these pain points that they mentioned on Clubhouse.
And if you're able to write it down, that
Yeah.
is the way to go, so that you have everything in one sheet of paper and you don't get overwhelmed and you don't get like that creative block if you
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
that.
And you get the perspective from everyone, and everybody is open to talk about a topic. You can also create a lead magnet through it. You can write down the summary of what has been said about that topic, and then release it as a PDF downloadable or whatever. So there, if you invest time, it does kind of bring something to the table. It
Sure.
brings
Yeah. I mean,
insight.
if you don't plan, you need to invest that time and energy on that planning phase, which then really sets everything into motion. And one great resource for that research as you get started with defining your target audience, and you want to get a little bit more insight on what that segment of people might be searching for, you could use a tool called Answer the Public, answerthepublic.com,
Sure.
to help you, just get more ideas of what people are searching for.
Yeah.
So then you could provide the answers for those questions through the content that you're creating.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. And one last question, and then I'll let you off. How do you see real estate marketing evolving in the next few years?
That's a great question. I mean, I think more and more, I mean, although there's new technologies and new tools emerging, there's even talks about Amazon tapping into real estate and having their own brokerage, which is going to be insane. I still believe that the real estate agents are going to be needed. I mean, this is still going to be one of the biggest investments any person will make in their life. And for the average buyer, it is a complicated process, and you're still going to need that expert to guide you through the entire purchase or selling process. Now, content and social media and the digital space is going to continue scaling and helping real estate agents kind of set themselves apart. And those that learn how to leverage those tools are going to be the ones that see success over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, well, great. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. I agree with you. It's only up from here. I hope that more and more people will get the knowledge and be able to apply all these tools to their business, whether it's in real estate or in architecture or something else. But yeah, thank you so much for giving all your insight on the topic. And I was wondering if you could tell people where they can find you, contact you, follow you.
Yeah, I mean, here, for those of you watching on LinkedIn, make sure you're requesting me. I love to connect to new people. You can find me on Instagram at Rafa and Grams, or just email me at Rafael@SERHANT.com.
Did I spell it right? Did I spell it right?
You're missing an S at the end.
All right, sorry. An S at the end.
Yep.
Okay, let's see.
There you go. That's that.
All right.
I love connecting and I follow back. I love engaging with everyone.
All right, thank you so much. And well, thank you for sharing your story as well, because that's super, super interesting. And if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to Rafael, because not only has a course, but also his personal experience can be very relevant to you. And I'm sure you would be up for taking up some questions. If
for
anything.
Sure. I always love to engage. And again, I'm here for new relationships. So yeah, reach out.
Thank you. I will go offline. Thank you so much for coming, Rafael.
Thank you so much, Giulia.